Hey everybody, Rodman here. Thanks for tuning in to episode 2 of Oxygen Not Included. Here's a little recap of the scenario, rules, and goals. It's a survival Terra world where I won't be sharing the cords. I won't be save scumming. I won't be revealing the map or accepting feedback that is like cookie cutter solutions or watch this, watch that, etc., etc. Just the Oxygen Not Included wiki, and that's about it. And the goals are really any of the survival goals. It's Home Sweet Home, Great Escape, or 75 episodes. So, picking up where we left off. We have just gotten the basics of latrine and a barracks, and that's about it. That is about it. We haven't gotten very far. I'm going to start slow here. I also wanted to address what I mean by no cookie cutter solutions, because there was questions, of course, about this on YouTube comments. So, there are a lot of really brilliant, highly technical YouTube series out there for Oxygen Not Included. I've been told time and time again that they are intimidating. They're very technical, so they're hard for people to comprehend and to mimic. My approach to Oxygen Not Included is very much going to be a slightly technical, but mostly MacGyvered approach. The reasons for this, of course, is that it will be easier for people to understand. That's how I enjoy playing. This is not a tutorial series, so I'm not necessarily concerned with doing it right. I just am trying to have fun and bring you along for the journey. I feel like if I created a series where I just mimicked people that are, let's say, highly technical, that would be basically plagiarism, and that's the reason for one of those rules. So, last we left off, we did want to start introducing coal generation. Burning coal for power. Now, there's a caveat here. You can set up a coal generator to power up a jumbo battery. The issue with this, of course, is that the coal generator will just keep burning and burning and burning, and it won't, even when the batteries are full. So one way around this is to use a little bit of automation to get a smart battery that can signal when it's empty or full, and then to get a little bit of automation basics, which is down here. And that is how we are going to set up our initial power grid. Additionally, the coal generator will be putting off some BTUs. It will be putting off heat. A lot of things like farming and ranching are very heat finicky, I guess is one way to put it. Essentially, you are not going to want to... You're not going to want to be generating a whole lot of heat like immediately inside your base, because it's going to be very hard for it to go away. And if you're trying to farm or you're trying to ranch, the net result will be, a loss of the crops. They won't be able to grow. I'm also going to make this gap a little wider. A 2-wide gap allows gases to fall a little bit easier than a 1-wide gap. So I'm going to make this a 2-wide gap. I also am missing a supercomputer station. At present, I don't really have a good place to put it, so I'm just not going to plop it down just yet. I might put it here or something like that. But we have research internal combustion. Now, the other thing is that the coal generator will also generate a lot of CO2 as it burns. And CO2 does fall naturally. So one of the things that you can do is to put your coal generator below your base significantly, far enough that the heat that it generates won't immediately permeate into your base. And then also make sure that the CO2 can pool down there, because then you can fix the CO2 as it pools. Alright, so I have set up some tasks for these guys to do. Now, the only issue here is we also have slime. So I can't dig straight down. The issue with slime, slime causes diseases. There's a few different types of diseases in this game. If you are allergic to flowers, you can get allergies. You can get slime lung. Those are probably the first two that you really have to worry about. There's some more complex late game ones as well. But slime lung is really annoying. Slime lung lives in polluted oxygen and other gases, but primarily polluted oxygen, where if you breathe it in, you can get sick, and then it also spreads to all the surfaces around it. So as long as slime lung is nice and buried, as you can see, if I check my germ overlay, as long as it's nice and buried, it's not spreading to any of the nearby surfaces. But if I do dig it up, it will start to infect everything. And then what can end up happening is slime lung everywhere. Another disease that you are going to have to avoid really early on. Let me pause jar. Let me see if there's any blueprints here. No, I don't want either of these guys. So I'm going to go with just the eggs. Another disease that you have to deal with early on is food poisoning. Food poisoning happens when you are, your food is exposed to, you know, essentially like fecal matter, something like that. It's pretty easy to avoid if you're smart, because all you got to do is make sure that you keep your water clean, which is one of the reasons I have this lip here. Now, there's a lot of ways to purify water, but they're complex and annoying, and it's best if you just don't poison your water. Honestly, just don't pee in the pool. You know, it's just that simple. Alright, so we're continuing our dig down. I do think I'll end up putting the coal generator somewhere around here. And then I'll be digging out another line like that. I also am going to need to decide where to put the supercomputer, but until I've decided where to put the supercomputer, what we also can do is to start research on another project and then pick the supercomputer location thereafter. So I have a lot of little construction tasks for these guys, and I'm trying not to overwhelm them. Let me speed the time up. Another thing I should do is work priorities. Make sure that, I'm going to say, like, farming very high. We don't have a dedicated farmer or, we have someone that cooks. We don't really have a dedicated farmer or rancher. I guess copious free time could ranch for us, potentially. But, let me adjust the volumes a little bit more. I lowered it a lot because of how loud it was, but it felt like I lowered it a bit too much. Okay, so we have a bit of free time. I'm going to fast forward through the free time. And I think the next big thing we're going to need to deal with is the fact that we have a lack of farming, because what this means will be eventual starvation if I don't address it sooner. So I'm going to go to the harvesting plants, set it to 9, and I'm going to say to really all the plants that are in my nearby neighborhood, it is a high priority that we harvest you. And that way our kcals go back up. And then once we have this dugout, I think what I will do is dedicate a spot like here to a farm. It's a little close to the cool steam vent. That might be a little concerning, but there really isn't a good other spot yet. I could put it up here, but I'd need to do a significant amount of digging. We do have a lot of slime biome that is sort of penning us in, for lack of a better term. And I am going to, we are 100% done with the novice research for advanced, for sound amplifiers. I'm going to start for a smart home, because we're going to need automation wires. So it's good to leave at least one block between the slime and open air, because slime will be eventually killed off by pure oxygen, but everything that isn't pure oxygen could keep to spread it. And if you ever have a question about slime, you can always go to the full database. It emits polluted oxygen once it's dug up. It can be distilled to algae. So algae is what you initially use to make oxygen. As you can see, this oxygen diffuser is basically consuming algae to create oxygen, and you do have a finite amount of algae. As you can see, algae is this green stuff. Eventually, you run out of it, and you can distill the slime into algae. But this is a sort of a high-tech, complicated process that you aren't going to want to have to do immediately, because it isn't simple. I mean, it's simple enough, but it requires some careful setup, or you will get sick. Now, if you're really hurting for food, all of these buried object tiles, the ones that have these sort of indicators in here, could also have things like muckroot and the like. So there's a possibility that we can get food that way. So now that I have smart home, let's see, meal preparation I'm going to start because we're going to work towards farm tiles. These thimble reeds are going to be very, very useful later on. Pretty soon, but later on as well. Now, as all of these shine bugs float around the bristle blossoms, it's possible that the bristle blossoms will be able to yield food for us as well. We can also hunt the hatches. Hatches are animals that eat things like sand, clay, dirt, and they excrete coal. So they're a way to have a somewhat renewable source of coal, as long as you're feeding them resources that you otherwise wouldn't want, like, I don't know, let's say sandstone. So there's always that. Now, I am planning on putting a supercomputer here. Let's go ahead and finish off this floor here. And I'm going to replace the aquifer walls as best as I can. So what that's going to look like is a wall like this. They're going to have to get wet. They're going to be a little upset. But in the long run, it's a good thing to do. All right, let's also make this floor tile. So here, as you can see, there is carbon dioxide very much pooling. That's pretty much what we wanted to have happen. So that's a good thing. And we finished off research for meal prep. So what we could do is to start working on agriculture. But the hydroponic farm tiles are going to require some plumbing. So I'm going to start with plumbing and sanitation as well. I'm sort of doing a whole lot of branching research. And eventually we will get what we need to done. All right, so we're replacing these walls. Some tiles, some terrain like sand, is not exactly watertight. So you got to be careful when you make your aquifers how you do it, because if you have, some tiles, they're porous. They act as a filtration medium. Okay, so we also have mess tables. That's going to allow us to design a mess hall or grate hall once we have a dedicated space. So at this point, what I need to do is to decide where I want sort of my food infrastructure, a farm, and the mess hall and the kitchen, that kind of stuff. This project is obviously not as important. I think what I'm going to do is to start prepping this area as a farm and kitchen and mess hall and all that. So there's a lot of construction involving food. That's going to be one of the big barriers initially. As you can see, there's really no way for me to go up without being exposed to slime. That's going to become an obvious barrier. There are some ways to do it. Let's see. This polluted water here isn't slimed, so it might be possible to go through the water. Of course, that water is going to leak everywhere, but through the water and up before I want to have to deal with slime. Slime is a lot easier to deal with once you have chlorine as a resource, which I would get from over here, this biome. The bleach stone here outgasses to chlorine, and chlorine helps to kill off slime spores, especially useful for water filtration. I would say let me increase the priority on the sinks and bathrooms up to 6 so that we plunge them as a higher priority, because as you can see, both of our outhouses now are out of order. And that's going to be a bit of a problem, because what ends up happening if they're out of order is our duplicants will just go to the bathroom anywhere. They'll only be able to hold it so long, and that could introduce food poisoning to your water source or something akin to that. Alright, so now Copious and Dennis are both going to plunge. Now, a liquid pump, I'm going to build here. A liquid pump needs to be powered, and it will pump from the bottom. So you want to put your pump pretty much as low as you can. If you put it up here, once the water level goes down, it won't be able to pump anymore. So put the pump as low as you can. Liquid bridges are to jump over pipes, and then you've got liquid pipes and liquid vents. Liquid vents flows. And then you also have bottle emptiers. So if I had a bunch of bottled fresh water, I could empty it out into my aquifer if I wanted to. Now in this aquifer, I wouldn't really be able to raise the water level all that much more because it's almost overflowing. Alright, so now we have plumbing and sanitation research. Sanitation is a way to have a much nicer toilets and the like. I would say something really nice next to get would be... I could get the basics of ventilation, but I would say working towards water sieves going to be useful. That allows you to purify water, partially at least. Alright, so now we have... our composts. As you can see, this outgassing here is just because we have polluted dirt. So one thing I should do is organic... polluted dirt no longer allowed in these storage units, because what they'll do is it will put off polluted oxygen, which could be a way for slime lung to spread. It's best if they breathe pure oxygen for, sanitation's sake. So I'm having them build this extra compost as a high priority. We have electric grill, which is going to be the way that we produce food initially for a long time. As you can see in the room overlays, there is no kitchen benefit. So we could just put the grill kind of wherever we want. Keeping in mind that the grill does generate heat, as does almost everything that does work. Some objects, like the grill, generate a little bit more heat than most. So that is useful to note. I think that's... I haven't planned anything out. I'm just sort of MacGyvering and going as I... playing as I go. That's where I'm going to put it first. Now, I'm also out of copper right now. I would need to mine up some additional copper in order to be able to construct a lot of the things I want to do. So, let me just selectively grab some copper from around here. I also have to be careful not to get any copper that's too close to, like, slime lung or anything like that. Alright, printing pod. I'm looking for someone that will be a very capable cook. Ideally also a farmer. And I can wait. I don't necessarily need to pick one of these duplicants that can cook but not farm, or farm but not cook. All these can cook. I don't need a secondary researcher. These are pretty good, but I'm going to hold out. I'm going to just print up the brine care package instead. Brine, I'm sure as you're aware, it's, highly concentrated salt in water. This is not something you would want to empty out into your aquifer. That would be bad. You don't want to have high concentrations of salt in your, actually, let me cancel that. I'll run the wire down like that. Alright, missing research station. These composts need flipping. The compost takes polluted dirt and as you can see, composts it back down to dirt, but it requires the duplicants to, shovel, I guess, with a... Okay. I still have concerningly low kcals, so that's something I need to work on too. I've been pretty slow at that. Now eventually I'm going to want a refrigerator here, but for now, the electric grill and the refrigerator is going to be enough to keep us fed. The microbe musher makes some really nasty food if you're in a pinch. I might get to that point because I've kind of casually and slowly managed to, I'm not making it a top priority to get our food in order as I really should be. But that's on me. But I think I can always, I always feel like I could dig for food. So I would say of the seed that I get, okay, here's some chlorine gas vents. So this chlorine gas vent puts out pretty hot, but not crazy hot chlorine that I'd be able to use to purify. So there's a lot of heat coming from this section, as you can see with the temperatures here. Okay, we also are starting to get polluted water. Polluted water is going to need filtration as well. And soon I will set up a water filtration loop that will be able to deal with, that kind of water. So nobody in my colony right now has the grill skill. It's a skill that you would earn if we go to skills. It's a skill that you would earn if you picked up grill cook. If one of them levels up, maybe Copious. Copious will be able to be our grill cook. but it's going to be important to get that. Okay, we are a little, one who is many is a little hypothermic right now because we were working in sort of chilled water. And as you can see, the hypothermia will go away in about a third of a day, or a third of a cycle. You know, but there is indeed a little bit of a delay. Right, I'm going to move this oxygen diffuser over one tile, and then I'm going to break down the ration box and put the supercomputer right next to the printing pod. And up here, as you can see, sick duplicants, hypothermia. It will warn me. Up here, you can see population stress, sickness, and kcals. And my kcals are lower, really, truly lower than they should be. But we'll aim to fix that. Some things, just like making a priority to get to muckroot, will help. So there is a bit of muckroot available, and then also doing things like mining out the buried objects. That can help as well. Alright, so the game's signaling that I need a little bit more copper before I can get my supercomputer. I need more metal ore. And we've just entombed our wash basin. Down here, there is some computers for us to research at. I probably won't be able to get there until I can deal with either the slime digging in this way. These computers just have sort of, well, I guess I can inspect them from here. And then there's also some sort of geyser here. The neutronium indicates a geyser. If I was to guess, I guess like a polluted oxygen geyser, given its location. But I won't know until I dig it out. Alright, so here, as we can see, there's some muckroot. And then if I check the germ overlay, the bristle blossoms are putting out floral scent, which if we had allergies, it would make us sick. But you know, we don't have allergies, so it's not so much a problem. Alright, so I'm doing some farming, as you can see, mealwood seeds and mining. And this should give me enough to get a supercomputer, which will allow us a whole host of additional research. There is one computer left that I've not yet, and that's deep into the research tree, but between a research station and a supercomputer, you can get the vast majority of the research projects that exist in the game. Alright. Another thing that I ought to research towards, given that we're having a increase of polluted oxygen, would be oxygen filtration, which is in decontamination here. So I'm going to work towards decontamination right now. If we take a look at our O2 overlay, all of this purple stuff is polluted oxygen, which in and of itself isn't a problem, but can become a problem when coupled with, you know, slime lung, for instance. It can become real dangerous. So we do have this liquid pump, which we can eventually use for the wash base, the new bathroom when I do showers and the like, and also could be used for setting up a farm of some sort. Now, if I wanted to start farming immediately, what I would be able to do, I would need to supply light, but I could set up just like some planter boxes or some farm tiles initially to kick it off. I think what I'm going to do is to have a dedicated farm area that I'm going to work on right now. Actually, these ladders are Yeah, I'll leave them in. But for a farm, we're going to want something like a ceiling light. But it's important to try to utilize every single possible square footage, I guess, of the ceiling light. So I'm going to set up the ceiling light and then mine out spots for the farm below. And as you can see, we are continually adding more power consumers, which means that getting the solar power, or getting rather the coal power that's smart, is going to be very, very important to keep people off of the manual generator. Because the more things I power on, we might reach a point where we'll have to have like a manual person running on the manual generator full time, which is just a waste of manpower. Alright, so ventilation is done. This gives gas pumps, gas bridges, and vents. Once I start using them later on, I will highlight what they do. I'm going to make the research and latrines a little bit more important, increasing their priorities. Now, there is such a term as priority creep, which is basically you keep increasing the priority of something until everything becomes 9. That's something important to avoid, because if you prioritize everything at 9, it's effectively not prioritized at all, right? Everything at 1 or everything at 9 is effectively the same. I also need a way to deal with my polluted water, which is coming out of the wash basins, but that's going to be involved with plumbing. The plumbing will fix that. Okay. So we do have some exposed slime lung here at this edge of the our exploration. Right now, as you can see, there's no slime lung being spread because slime lung can't spread to unpolluted oxygen. But I'm just going to wall this section off just in case that ever changes, so that we don't end up with a slime lung problem. Okay, so now we have valves and airflow tiles. Airflow tiles are pretty useful as well. Anytime I unlock something, I'm not necessarily going to highlight what it does. I'm going to wait until I actually physically use it, so that it's sort of, you know, more visible to you all. All right, so this is the depth of my farm, and what I'm going to do is put in the hydroponic farm tiles once I get them. I don't have them yet researched. We're working on them. So let's re-queue for the hydroponic farm tiles now. And agriculture. Now, I don't have a full-time farmer, but we'll make do with just the people that we have farming the best they can. I did speak of food poisoning. What's really important here is that you have wash basins to prevent food poisoning. As you can see, the outhouses here are full of food poisoning germs, which would be a real problem if we didn't have these wash basins to have them wash their hands as they rejoin the, you know, re-enter the rest of the colony. And here, as you can see, the carbon dioxide is pooling. Skill point earned. Copious free time now can be a grill cook. It's not powered on yet because this cable isn't finished. But that means that he will be able to pickle meal lice, grill up bristleberries, which is a very good source of food. Now that we can grill bristleberries, I might set my farm up to be a bristleberry farm rather than a mealwood, because bristleberries are a little bit higher morale of a food source. It will use up some fresh water, though. That's for sure. And sine curve just leveled up. So duplicate skills, sine curve, you are going to get field research, which gives you the ability to analyze steam vents if I want to, but also just makes you a better researcher all around. And we have some muckroot. I can also just prioritize the buried objects like this, so that we maximize the amount of kcals that I can get before I really start full-time mining, or farming rather. And what I'm going to want to do is to bring this plumbing pipe over to where my farm will be. So I'll have them start to work on that. I'm also going to want this plumbing pipe to initially feed into my bathroom. But eventually we're going to set up a scenario where fresh water isn't used for bathrooms. Recycled water will be, as that is a lot more sustainable. At this point, builder farmer. This builder farmer, ooh. They have a lot of very positive traits. But one more mouth to feed when I don't already have a farm up is bad, so I'm going to do hatchling eggs. And then one thing that we could do is to set up an egg cracker. I'm going to make this 9. To crack the eggs to be able to use eggs as a meal source. I'm going to say crack the shine nymph eggs and the hatchling eggs that I have. As you can see, Cooper's free time is now cracking eggs, which allows us to make an omelet. And we don't have refrigeration yet, but they should be eating the eggs, or eating the omelets sort of quickly, hopefully, because we don't have a lot of food anyway. And then the eggshells can eventually be used to crush to produce lime, so they are also a useful resource. So I'm going to say allow eggshells in these storages so we can put the eggshells away. And we have about a day's worth of food, but I think this will kick back up. Another thing that we could do is to set up the hatches here to be hunted. Right now, they're just eating random things because we don't have the ranching skill to be able to round them up or anything like that. So they're eating random food that they find, and they're pooping out. Coal, but we can turn them into barbecue. So copious free time here is just making sure to cooking us up. And then another thing that we should do is construction. Make sure that this is a high priority, because we have a bunch of raw eggs, but we don't have the ability to cook it yet. Duplicate skills. So let's put on our nicer hats. Sine curve, you're going to take the advanced research. And copious free time, you are going to be our chef, so you put that hat on. And Dennis Keith, you just leveled up as well. Let's do even better carrying. Okay, I'm just making sure that they prioritize finishing off the electric grill. This is going to solve a bit of our food. Not a whole ton, but a bit of it. And achievement has been earned. Pay the bills. Oh, there's the research we've been waiting on. Let's get a refrigerator in. And start working on hydroponic farms. So if you take a look at the furniture for the ceiling light, I'm trying to light up where I'm trying to build hydroponic farms where the lights will hit. So I'll start with 5 here, but eventually we're going to want more. Put a now that we don't have any more hatchling eggs or shine nymph eggs, we'll turn off the egg cracker. So it doesn't continually inform me that I'm got something to do here. Looks like our cabling's about to get done, and then we'll be able to make a bunch of omelets. Here we go. Now it's omelet time. I'm also going to want a refrigerator, and this will keep our raw ingredients, like the raw eggs, fresh. Of course, again, requiring power. Everything is caveat, more power required. Next big thing would be let's work on the power. So we're going to want sound amplifiers for the smart battery, and then advanced power regulation for the heavier cabling. And here we will put really all edibles inside the refrigerator, and let's make sure to power it up. The refrigerator is a constant power drain, so our need for power ever increasing. But as you can see, our kcal is also going up, which is really, really nice. And let's say all this is sort of high priority. We want to be able to eat. Alright, we are starting the hydroponic farm. Now with the hydroponic farm, there is a farm designation. So for us to capitalize on the farm designation, we're going to want to set up our farm so that it is enclosed. Otherwise, we lose the benefits. And as you can see, we are having constant brownouts now that we have a refrigerator and the like. Not surprising, and not all that concerning yet either, because we will fix our power grid soonish. Another achievement earned. Having me cook. Yep. Now, if our food gets really, really low, what I could do is to signal the emergency so that everyone wakes up in the middle of the night. They won't be happy about that, but they will hunt the hatches as a result. I'm not there yet, mind you. I'm not that concerned. Huh. There's some slime here that doesn't have slime lung baked in. Alright, so now this is saying no liquid intake. So it won't grow. So the next thing I'm going to need to do, and I'm going to make this a high priority because I really do need a farm, is to build the piping network that runs underneath so that the bristle blossoms can bloom. The millwood's a little bit easier to farm, but I like to go bristle blossoms initially because, like I said, it is a bit of a nicer food source, which can keep our guys happier. Alright, so now if we run on the generator, you'll see fresh water be pumped. It's going to be pumped to the farm and to up this pipe. And my bristle blossoms are going to start to grow. Now once the pipe is full of water, it will be backed up and the liquid pump will idle. And there's yet another hatchling egg for me to utilize once I get to it. digging up the rest of the area so that we can turn it into one productive farm. Making sure it's a very, very high priority. I'm also going to need to source some bristle blossoms elsewhere, meaning to dig up the ones up here so that I can replant them in my farm. And as long as I am constantly browning out, I'm going to have power shortages, which stops their growth. But that's all the time I have for this episode. So tune in. The schedule that I have for here is at rodamont.com if you're curious when the next episode will air. If you have any feedback for me, do drop me a line in the comments below regarding the rules that I have. Thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoyed this. I'll catch you all next episode. Adios, friends.